Good afternoon to you, President David Chartrand.
Good afternoon, Naomi. And of course, as you announced on the radio, I'm out in Israel.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity, of course, of visiting some very historical sites, which I'll speak of quickly shortly. But we also have some of the business venture of our trip, which I'll report on to our people to know how this connection is going to be so fundamental to our ongoing plans of our government and expansion. You know, the world is a small place.
It is.
And we always think it's far. We talk about longevity across oceans, but in 7 hours, you're across the other side of the world. So it's not like you have to drive for 2 months to get there or take a year to get there. Now, this is 7 hours. You're in a different place, not far away. That actually impacts all of us in our Christianity. This history that's here plays a significant role of the struggles and also the beliefs we have back in our own culture, of course, the Métis culture. But let me start off first. It is a gruesome trip. We start off early in the morning and we go to so many different sites, business sites. Yesterday, we actually had I know Hutterites don't listen on radio. They don't have radios in their communities, but we went to places called kibbutz, and they're actually a collectivity of Jews that live together in one community. But inside that community, it's not based on religion, it's based on the collectivity. Like Hutterites get together based on religion and the collectivity. Mm-hmm. The other way, this is about collectivity of a people. And so, but the ingenuity of their vision and what they do is amazing. We went to one yesterday that talked about robotics, hydroponics, and drones. They have young kids today in their little kibbutz communities, little villages like we have, but they have full control of choosing the education, choosing the degree of priorities, and they're having the young people already making drones. And I'm talking their teenage years. And so scientifically and with IT behind them, they're selling their product. Wow. And so, but it's actually really teaching them at a very young age. Their focus is something we're looking at now back home. As, of course, Minister Chartrand's here and Minister Ledoux and Denise Thomas with me. But one of the things, of course, we're looking at is that the issue of languages. People don't realize that the Jews have been around for thousands of years, but they almost lost the Hebrew language, which is their original language. It took them 25 years to now have it fluently spoken by everyone in Israel. Before, it was almost gone, only in the text in the books. So that's some of the struggles we find as Indigenous people back in Canada, that we're fearful to lose our languages. And like me, I speak Soto, others speak Métis, others speak Cree. So when you go forward and forward and forward, maybe they're very bilingual or trilingual, you know what I mean? And we have multi-language that we speak depending on where our families live. But the issue of our Michif language, which is viewed by so many that we're going to lose it, is something that we are trying to figure out solutions and strategies. And one of the things that actually is really a combination of already our thinking and the way they were doing their thinking and how they say the Hebrew language, they started at a young age. They went back to the basic principles and started teaching the young people, especially the mothers. They taught the mothers to speak the language, and specifically because the mothers are the closest to the children, always with the children, and they only speak in Hebrew. And that's one of the things that Francis, of course, as the minister, is looking in all of our daycare centers, that we'll start introducing the Michif as a language in our daycare centers. And we'll develop the language formulas that will be used and taught by our teachers that we will hire to work. Not only will we have child care center and child care workers, we're going to have the teachers who will teach the culture, teach the language, and start redeveloping our 200 years of nearly fear of losing our language to bring it back to the basic that we can begin to save this language before we lose it forever.
Right.
So this is some of the kind of ideologies they used, and it's worked. It's proven method. It does work. And so I was quite impressed to watch that, and especially the robotics and the IT sector side, the interest of the young kids. I'm talking teenagers, probably from the ages of 10 on, interacted. They're put a challenge to them. They're left on their own devices. They'll say, for example, the drones. They say to them, okay, we have drones out there, and we want you to make your drone better than the drones that are being sold in the stores today. So those young kids go at it and are allowed to be innovative, allowed to think on their own, allowed to take on the challenges. And one of the things that's interesting here is that even if you're a civilian, at 18 you have to join the military. Men join for 3 years. They're still boys to us in Canada at 18, and women go up to 2 years. It's a civilian. It's one of the laws in Israel, but they teach them again the practice of being innovative, being thinkers, using their brain. They see the brain and the thinking as a commodity. That it's a sale, it's a business, it's something that you have control of in your own, and you can use that as a resource. That we don't think of it that way, but that's the way we need to start thinking back home at the same time. So when they leave the military, even in the military, we're told that they're trained in the military, of course, and they learn tech stuff, and they learn communication, they learn all kinds of things while in the military at a young age, at 18. When they come out 3 years later, that innovation now is open. And so tomorrow we're actually going to see they're ranked the best in the world on startup businesses. And one of the key things we're hearing is that and I'll hear more tomorrow at the presentations, is that their startup businesses allowing the business to be bold and not to be afraid to make mistakes. And their philosophy is that you learn more from mistakes than you do from non-mistakes, because it makes you learn not to make that mistake again and how to make sure you don't make that mistake. So they're not fearful of mistakes in startup businesses. And I know back home we're very careful, we're very scared of it, because if we fail, if we make a mistake, we think we fail, and that we're not good at business anymore. But they don't. They allow you to make mistakes, and they encourage you to be more innovative and more challenging. So I want to hear more about how that works and why they're so successful in small business enterprise. So these are some of the policies we'll probably adopt in our government as we continue to move boldly. As you know, I've made announcements on the radio already that we are hiring economic officers, because we truly want to start helping our businesses. We have, for sure, I think over 600 businesses registered with the Métis Federation right now. These are Métis-run businesses. And we want to make sure that we can create better programs, better supports, and ensuring that we have a collectivity of where the businesses work together. But let's look at bigger opportunities. And that's what they look at here. We're getting a I'll say, brief on it, is that they look at every business to be of value. And so we don't. We look at small business as sometimes meaningless, like starting a business cutting lawn grass, the lawns, the yards.
Right.
Our snow removal, small little tiny business. Those they flourish them, they push them here. They don't, of course, clear snowy here, but they use the small business ideology and they push it to make it real and sustaining and meaning something. And so we need to look at, as I said, in our communities, we have 70%, 80% unemployment. We need to change that in rural Manitoba. We need to figure out how do we start businesses. So how does Duck Bay survive without a store? Why don't we have a store? Why isn't there somebody being innovative and opening a store? What's holding that person back or the community back? So these are the things that we've got to seriously look at. One of the things we're also looking at tomorrow is nurseries. In Israel, it's famous for it because they took a desert, basically, and it's now green and flourishing agricultural-wise. Is unbelievable. And I had a chance, and it's quite amazing when you see here now, when we are back in Western world and we look at the East and we see the Middle East and see all these wars and fights happening. But when you look how close in proximity they are, they're unbelievable. We went on the Golden Heights Hill, where that was fought for between Syria and Israel, because there's a vantage point on the highest hill. And again, they fought for water. And we always said water is going to be one of the commodities that's going to be of great concern for all of the world. And because the water comes from the mountains and rolls down to the Jordan River, which we all know the Jordan River is famous for Jesus' baptism, but it's also famous for all their farms. But when you look over the hill when you stand on top of the old Syria, just around the corner, just in the bottom.
Yeah.
So they're really connected. It's like Manitoba and Saskatchewan connected next door to each other, okay, or Duck Bay and Pine Creek, or Camperville and another community. So when you look at it, yet when you watch from this side of the fence, I'll call it, you see such a robust agricultural development. When you look at the Syria side, which you can see right from with your own eyes on top of the hill, you don't see agriculture. You don't see the flourishing agriculture. You have the same soil just across that little line. And for some reason, that's not a growing or ongoing investment side from Syria. We don't know. I don't know why. But from this side, you see the produce, the products, and they invested a lot of energy of making Israel green, and they planted millions of trees, millions. And so you look all over it, it's a flourishing green community, but it's the small farms, and what they do is they use them as collective farms. And the kibbutz use the same kind of style where they sell their products like other eggs, except different in different ways. But it's really, I'm learning a lot, and I know I'll bring back some of the knowledge I'm getting here along with my ministers, but it is absolutely, I would say, impressive on how they come from basically nothing, developing their country. Because all remember, Jews were all chased off their land, just like we were, and left to send somewhere else in different parts of the world. And they all came, eventually some of them came back, and they came back in mass numbers, and they built the entire country. And so we, as people, got chased off our land. First Nation got put onto reserves. The prosperity of our opportunity was robbed from us. And so we got to figure out, how do we then take what we have and build it into something? And that's what they were able to achieve. And these are things I'm hoping my ministers and ourselves will learn more as we keep on going. We went to a museum today, a very interactive museum, getting many ideas for our, of course, Heritage Center, our museum.
Right.
That is going to be construction going to start this year. But some of the ideas they have and how they introduce their culture, their history, their struggles, their hardships, and even they have a classroom there where kids can work with their, I will call them babas. That's Ukrainian. Sorry, they have their own name. I don't know what their name is for the elderly, but the women are teaching them how to cook, how to make bread, how to make different things, and it's interactive in the museum. So, and then there's people that are questioning about their identity, because people were spread out all over the world. What does it mean to be Jewish? That's the question they posed to, I think, 1,500 Jewish people that come from all over the world, and many have different answers. And so it's quite interesting to see how, after gone for decades, half a century, you come home and you have a different view of what it is to be Jewish now, because you've been kind of taught by other countries or other communities and to think differently.
Right.
And so now they're trying to find themselves. So it's interesting that, like, the Métis that had to hide, and now they're coming home back to their, of course, regular Métis. And some of the Métis today are telling me, well, I need to know more about my culture. I never had one. Mm-hmm. I'm Métis, but that was stolen from me. So how do I find myself again? So I want to find myself. So those are important aspects. So again, this is a very good learning experience. Now, with some other, I'm meeting with the Canadian ambassador, I think tomorrow, or it's tomorrow, I believe, May 1st. I'm meeting with the Canadian ambassador out here, and then from there on May 2nd, I go to Jordan. But what's important, I think, also for our people back home, of course, we're still strong Catholics, a lot of Christians in the Métis community. Mm-hmm. And I had the opportunity to, in my view, on behalf of the little Métis nation we have, to pray in many churches for our people back home. And so I did many prayers while I was out here, but I actually went on one of my missions here, was also to go to actually where Jesus Christ was crucified.
Right.
And there's a church built over it now, but I went to it. Denise, of course, who prays in a community gathering every night back in Canada at 9 p.m. at night. She had a chance, along with Joan and Francis and I, and individually touch the actual stone where the cross was put on, where Jesus was crucified. So And what was amazing is that when you hear the story back home, or the Bible, when it's being told Jesus being taken down from the cross and placed on a slab and anointed with oils before they put him into that little cave. Mm-hmm. And you think it's a journey and a half to go to the cave, and it was somewhere in the distance. It's actually right next door to itself where they crucified him. Uh-huh. The actual cave is right beside it. And so, but the slab that they had where people have touched it and talked about miracles happening, I was able to put my vest on there with my mom's stories in the back. And I know I'm sure without a doubt my mom was proud of me, knowing that I took the back of my vest in the front and put it on the same stone that Jesus was oiled and anointed on. And so, and I went to the cave. It's still just figures of rocks, but it was just so next door to the actual crucifixion, because they wanted to rush the burial because there was some event happening at that time in that century. So when you look at it, seeing that, I also went to Nazareth in our journey. Of course, that's where the Virgin Mary was given the special privilege to carry Jesus on behalf of God and to become human flesh. And so we went to see her house. It's just a hole in the called Little Hill, and above it they made a little stone house, but underneath is where they had we'll call it a basement. Was not, but it was just a hole dug into the ground, and that's where they lived. And so I got to see that also, but the church is built right on top of it now. Like this giant church protects it, and it's there for millions and millions of people that come to visit. And so I also went to the Sea of Galilee, and of course that's where Jesus did his sermons on the top of the hill. And of course we all know the story about him using many people there and having only 3 fish. Was able to use the fish and the bread and feed everyone. Right. And that was, of course, they say, a miracle. And there's other miracles at different places we went to. We lived with St. Peter at his house, and they actually used that as a church. And we went and seen the remains of the stone house, in that village area. So, like, those are things I'll cherish and bring back memories, and or put a little video together to show up people. Yeah. And I know so many people are so proud that the Métis government's not only coming up for business, they're going to come and also do what we believe is so essential to our culture, is making sure we never forget we must believe. We must believe in something. We have to believe in something, because there's a time it will be needed by our families when we lose our loved ones, and we know we got to pray to somewhere, and hopefully hope that our loved ones are gone to a new home. So this part of the Christian visit is so essential personally for me, also my mom. And, my mom passed now close to 12 years, but it's still very important to me, and I still talk to her every day. So again, I'll give more reports again on the Biosphere project and at the same time they're making in protection of certain land, in which we are doing back home, and our government's also looking at pursuing the protection of certain areas of land where our animals and birds and others can continue to flourish. That is something they're also looking at. We're looking at how they're doing it and see how it'll match with our plans back home. So we're learning a lot, I'll tell you that.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, but I tell you, it's hard. You just start up early, and a lot of times I come crawling into bed late at night, and it's tiring. We're trying to capture, when you're this far, you're trying to capture as much as you can in a day, to learn as much as you can in a day, and bring home all the applications of these opportunities. So, like I said, even the museum was such a insightful and things that we can take from there and learn and put into our. There's a lot of similarities. If you take away the all of the atrocities, the Holocaust and everything else, the Jews. But if you look at the other parts of it, of course, we didn't go through such diverse structures of pain and hardship and misery and death. Yes, we have struggled. Yes, we suffered. Yes, we died. But not to the degree of the Holocaust, and where millions were killed. But when you look at it, you ask yourself the question: these individuals still were chased off their land, yet today they're prosperous. why did they become prosperous? How did they achieve it? What did they do to achieve it? So how did they preserve their language? It took them 25 years and everybody speaks Hebrew. Why can't we do it? What's stopping us? And so these are things that, as I said, we're trying to figure out how they have done it and take those ideas, take the similarities and the struggles and the hardships they face, keep the culture together. But let me go to some birthdays. The time is going to run out on me. Probably running out as we speak. Got about 7 minutes. I want to say happy 62nd birthday to Bob Church, Mickey Trapper, of course, out there and works with us. And Bobby's always out there trying to promote and protect our culture and the ways that we practice our harvesting. So happy 62nd birthday, Bob. Happy 38th birthday to John Sanderson. My son-in-law is celebrating his birthday on Tuesday, May 2nd. I can't be there, John, but I'll bring you something when I come home. And by the way, for our elders and others, I can't give everybody something, but I bought a lot of stuff to give away. And so during the assemblies and different things, I'll have chances to give out some of them. For example, holy water we got from the Virgin Mary's church. And so things of that nature, and scarves we bought from Jerusalem. And so I'll give some of those gifts away when I get home. And again, I'll keep on trying to capture more of that and purchase some of those products. And then hopefully I can share these special gifts with someone at home who will ask me to bring home gifts. Also, happy birthday is going to, and I told, of course, yourself, Naomi, I'm bringing you something, so I will.
Right.
Happy birthday to Melinda Amy, beyond Borders, who's working, of course, with us on the ongoing work we're doing with the citizens that have joined by thousands throughout Canada, mostly in the West. They've joined and come home to the Métis government, and of course, she's celebrating her birthday on May 2nd. Didn't say her age here. I'm not sure how old Melinda is. She's not young no more, let's put it that way, right, Melinda? No, I'm just joking. She works with us. She's been with us. She used to work for big time. She worked with, of course, the vice president out in Brandon, and she was one of the chief of staff for her for many, many years. Happy 82nd birthday is going to Neil Nault. That's Rochelle Nault's father. I hope he's listening out. I don't know if he still lives in St. Rose area, but happy 82nd birthday, Neil. This comes from your daughter in the Métis government. Also want to say congratulations, 56th wedding anniversary of Greg and Teresa Balmer from the Interlake region. That's on May 1st. And happy 6th wedding anniversary to Linda and St. Cyr and Vinko. They've been with each other for some time, but they're out in Croatia, because that's where Vinko comes from.
That's right.
And of course, Linda and St. Cyr's our elder and prays at many of our functions. So, again, as I say, there's so much happening, and there was also a death that occurred just yesterday with a young boy, 5 years old. I'm not going to mention the name or the family at this point in time. Our prayers are with them, actually related to them. So I'm sending prayers when I go to the next church. In many churches I visited and prayed. I'm personally going to pray for the family and the hardships they're facing right now, and the struggles they're going through. And so it's very important we share at this time of need the family when they lose a loved one. You hear more probably on it than Facebook and the news. But I haven't had a chance to speak to family directly, so I don't want to go saying names on the radio. But a 5-year-old child was lost and on an accident. So my prayers are definitely personally going out to them, and of course the Métis government. So also don't want to forget say hi to Baby out there. She's missing her papa, and to Glor. She's working madly and organizing we actually have a meeting tomorrow, a conference call tomorrow with my vice presidents and direct staff on June 3rd and 4th, I believe, is our assembly.
Yep.
So that's happening. So we have I have a meeting tomorrow, a Zoom meeting from here tomorrow. On Sunday, I think it's tomorrow.
Yep.
Here. So I'll have a meeting tomorrow with my people. And, of course, the Métis women are meeting right now. And I want to say congratulations to hardworking, of course, and Nika Campbell and Finny Woman. And they're having their gathering right now this weekend. But she'll have to leave the meeting for a while because I need her at the other meeting that we will be hosting from here. So getting ready for June 3rd and 4th, and I know our citizens are all pumped up about it, getting ready to be part of it, and I look forward to seeing our people. And then, of course, I'll close off with this. Interlake May 13th, I'll be there. It's Selkirk Memorial Hall to continue the treaty meetings. Vancouver, May 17th. Virtually, which people can join on May 24th. Southwest, May 27. That's Legal LaPlante area. And Elders and Veterans in Brandon on May 28. And, of course, a big special EGA, and that's June 3rd, 4th at Assiniboine Downs. Now, that's the one that's, of course, is going to be the big meeting, a big meeting. So that's when we will pass our treaty, and then from there we will make sure to push hard that we get it proposed and passed in Parliament by the fall. And the treaty will become official and protected by the Constitution of this country, and the modern-day treaty for the people will be enshrined for the future generations, that they will have a big head start that we never had, and it'll change the very essence of programs and services to create permanency, to make sure that they're always there, whether it's housing, education, healthcare, and the list goes on, economic development. And, of course, we have some more announcements coming in. I'll speak on it next Saturday on some of the announcements we're making on economic development and of course, some of the developments that are occurring on the house that's for the aging out. There's something important I've got to speak on, and I don't want to go out of time here with 1 minute. I just want our children and our families to know that the children that were in care, as you know, we went to court, we won. Mm-hmm. First Nations also won. And it was $320 million, I believe, was the total amount of child allowance that was taken away from the children, from babies and young kids that were apprehended by the child welfare system. And that money should have always gone to the children, but it wasn't. The government used it as a tool to pay for the cost of child welfare. Now, what really got me completely upset and off guard was a law firm actually put a class action lawsuit. And they're quite easy to set up, but very expensive. They take a lot of money at the end of the day when they get these negotiations. So a lot of law firms have been slapping these class action lawsuits. This one particular law firm actually filed, we filed a court to fight for the rights to protect the children from the money for the children, the child allowance. Another law firm filed a class action lawsuit at the same time, sitting and waiting for the judgment to come down, and we won. And now they're saying they're representing all of the children. And they never consulted us, never spoke to us, never asked us anything, didn't say what they're charging, didn't say how they're going to go about doing it, how they're going to split the money, nothing. They didn't even talk to us. And so they're of course, in my view, I see a lot of these law firms are taking massive opportunity with the way the class action lawsuits work. So I want to tell our children listening out there now, some of them are teenagers, some of them are adults, that we are working diligently. We've hired a law firm. We are going to take a position, and we're going to protect that money and to make sure 100% of that fund, that money, goes to the children. It's not going to lawyers. It's not going to go to MMF. It's going to go to the pockets of the children. It's their money. It should always be protected. So I just want to show the families. I know that our cabinet is very proud of it. We are getting lawyers, and we're going to protect our own class action lawsuits to make sure that money is not taken away, to pay lawyers, to take it away from the children's pockets. So really, the government of Manitoba did that for how many years, and now we finally got the money. Not the money, we haven't got it yet, but the province is saying they're willing to settle. And so we're going to make sure that money is set aside and every child will get their child allowance money that was stolen from them. So something I'm proud of my cabinet, and Mona Beers is, of course, working on that file as a minister. And we'll keep you based on a regular show on Saturdays to hear more and more about the case, because we want to make sure that these children know their money will be protected.
That's good, yeah. Definitely.
Okay, so I'll talk to you guys next Saturday, and I'll keep on trying to learn more, but at the same time visit some of these holy sites, and I can't wait to show a video and tell a story back home. And I know our people are very proud of us. That who would ever think that the Métis government of the Red River would be out here doing business both with Jordan and with the Israel, but at the same time visiting the sites that have impacted all of our citizens. So it's going to be important. It's going to be, I think, some of the touching hearts of many when they see the videos that we'll play in our website and, of course, in our assemblies. Okay, we'll talk to you next Saturday. Thanks for finding me there, Cowboy. I'll talk to you guys next Saturday.
All right, you take care. And
amazing
Ray St. Germain.
Yep. Ray, if you're listening to me, Ray St. Germain, I was bragging about you all morning from the people from Israel here about the great legend of Ray St. Germain.
That's awesome.
Okay, talk to you guys.
All right, you take care. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.